Go ahead.
So hi, Elizabeth. How are you?
I'm good, Michelle. How are you?
Good. All the way out there in America. I can't believe how phenomenal it is to have technology still keeping us connected, even when we locked up at home.
Yeah, well, it's really amazing. I'm looking out at the San Francisco Bay right now from my house in Oakland, California, and it's gorgeous and sunny, and spring is in full bloom over here. We've got buds on the trees and new fruits that are coming. So it's very promising. And so I would
Nice.
imagine that, you're on the other side. So maybe coming into more of an autumn.
Kind of makes me feel a little bit like where we are with COVID at the moment. Like you guys are a bit ahead of us. We are definitely entering into the autumn winter stage. Things are escalating. I don't think we've hit our peak yet. And one of the reasons why I wanted to connect with you is I've had the absolute honor of, I don't know how we've known each other since 2010, I think. We met in Miami at the Women Presidents Organization conference.
Yep.
And then we stayed in touch all these years. And our kindred spirit on, being active in civil society and making a difference, as well as a good understanding of the corporate world and how big business works. So please would you introduce yourself to my audience so that they understand how fabulous you are and a bit of your
Thank you.
background.
Great. Well, thank you. It is a pleasure to be here with you and with all of you who are part of Michelle's community. Michelle, as she mentioned, met me in 2010. We were in Florida in an unlikely place, but midway kind of between the two places. And we both had a real zest for supporting women and supporting entrepreneurs and supporting kind of the change that needs to happen in the world through amazing individuals like all of you. And at the time, I was very much in my corporate career. I was running a couple of nonprofits for women's organizations. And then after that, I was recruited and worked in a very large high-tech company for a number of years. And during that time, I had a major health crisis for about a year, and that forced me to really look inside. And as I came out of that, I was then challenged to take care of some aging parents. And in the midst of that, I decided to go to seminary and become an interfaith chaplain and to follow a call that I had long had. I know it was really a change. It was like left turn and not young either, not young. This is not me being 20.
Lifestyle ads midway.
Exactly. And so Michelle and I just, because we were same taste in humans, we like to say, we stayed in touch for a very long time. And last year, as part of my practicum, I was part of an MIT project that was looking at delivering strategic ways of attending to major issues in the world around social justice and around the ecology and climate change. And I was putting together a group of spiritual community leaders, and I thought Michelle has got to be a part of this. She's very spiritual, she's got a big mission, and she's out there. And so she joined me, and we've just taken our friendship to a new level and a new level of collaboration. So I was really pleased when you asked me to come speak to your group, Michelle.
Yes, and you talk about collaboration, like I think here I've been trying to be really positive and been doing my crazy mission on a mission kind of thing. But, some of the things that worry me is that within the ecosystem of making a difference, I don't feel that civil society have actually been taken that seriously. And honestly, I've jumped in with 2 feet, and I've noticed, and something that we spoke about before we started this interview, where does making a difference really start? And with this COVID-19 pandemic, it's a global pandemic. Our world's never going to be the same again. This is not just a phase. This is not something that's going to pass. This is something that is going to be around for some time. As you know, I've been very passionate about profiling social entrepreneurs, people who make it their job every day to make a difference. And I'm still very passionate about that because they are the golden thread of our society. And I'm seeing that more and more now. You know, they're the ones that are in the trenches. And I suppose the question is kind of double folded, two-sworded, two-edged sworded. So how do we maintain the light? You know, many small lights bring the light that shines the way for making a difference or for shining a light on a new path. How do we maintain that light? Because we can't rely on the powers that be to keep the lights on, like literally in South Africa. We have a problem with Eskom. And then how do we not burn our own lights out? And how do we not allow the negative gusts of hot air and wind from other people who are blah 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 all the time? How do we make sure that they don't blow the lights out, you know? And I'm really interested to hear your learning your path. I think I know that you're the person that can really help shine some light on this situation.
Well, thanks, Michelle. I think that it's a big challenge. I mean, I think anybody can do what we need to do for 24, 48, maybe, 72 hours. But, I don't know about you guys, but our orders for shelter in place went into effect on the 16th of March. So we're at 6, 7 weeks now. I mean, we've kind of lost track. I mean, we don't even, like, how do we even get groceries or, any of these things? Everything is different. All of the structures of our lives are different. I mean, normally I would be going with my father to our church right now. This is what we would be doing Sunday. And we're not doing that. We're doing something different. And, now that everything is up in the air, what do we do so that we kind of are ready when the time comes? And I told you, Michelle, when we were chatting, that I'm right in the middle of a chaplaincy residency. So coming out of seminary, I'm now looking at, the applied elements of being a chaplain and being of spiritual support to people. And in a hospital or clinical environment, even though I'm no longer there, I'm on the phone or on the video with our patient's family, and quite frankly, a lot of staff. And we're actually going as far in as possible to the individual. How do we get up every day and make choices about what we eat, what we wear, how we exercise our bodies, what it is that we're talking about when we talk to our people, the choices that we make about limiting how much of the talk that we hear from some of our leaders. We're in a very interesting country over here right now. And so we have choices about that. And we have choices about what we stand for and about our families and about our hyper-local communities. I mean, our little community has never been as tight. And I don't know if you guys have this software program over there. It's an app called Nextdoor. And it's like a hyper-local Facebook. And we're able to be in touch with each other. And, I have to tell you, my neighbor next door, Kathy, she's out with her sons every day. She puts like a weighted vest on and runs up and down her driveway. And, we kind of looked at it a little bit the first couple of days. We're like, what is that? Now we're talking about it and we're trading lemons. I mean, the quality of connection has actually never been as high, or certainly as high as, the advent of these smartphones. And I think that it's about choices, about getting back out into nature would be a very practical, and then from that place, from being fed, from being connected to whatever your source is. I mean, for some people it is, Jesus, or some people it is, a particular mantra, or a practice. Some people it's the stars, or just a seed source of knowing inside yourself, from that place, from a deep knowing. Because to your point, if we wait for the powers that be to tell us what to do, it's going to be long too late. We know.
Yeah.
Feed ourselves, feed our families, feed the poor.
Yeah. I also, you talk about that connectivity and that they've never been stronger. I'm also finding, and then you talk about having choices. I'm also finding that I'm getting so much clearer on what I will and will not, or want or don't want. Um, Even with my hubby. That's what lockdown will do to you. No, I'm teasing. He's been phenomenal. I think it's more like the other way around, but it's very much about like-mindedness, right? Like being able to connect with people who have similar value systems. And once again, that's about feeding soul. That's about feeding the things that are important to you deep at your core. And that's where it all starts.
I think that you're absolutely right. The clinical research has shown that when we extend ourselves beyond our capacities, like I said, we can do that on an emergency basis.
Yeah.
But eventually, the adrenaline and the cortisol, if it runs too long and too hot, it will shut us down. And I'm not sure people will say, this virus is horrible, and it is. And it has an intelligence. It has an intelligence because it is creating an environment for us to slow down to the speed of life
Mm.
and to reevaluate what's truly important to us, because we're going to have a different set of choices coming out of this than we have. And I think it really will be at our peril that we go back to the old normal.
Yeah.
Even if that's an option. I firmly believe it's not going to be an option, but I believe that, we have to be prepared. And the only way to be prepared is to have, in a sense, a strong core.
Well,
So,
I've done the typical me thing where I've jumped in with all four, and it's been 5 weeks of going out and helping those that are vulnerable. And thanks to the community that have helped me, like I've got a big voice, big, loud voice to say, please help, do this, and people have. They've been phenomenal. Like kindness has really brought those like-minded people into my space, and I'm so blessed for that. But I had a meltdown this last week and I was finished. I just come back from Lavender Hill and just, in the moment you like upbeat and you do your thing and, you try and spread the love and the joy as much as you can and you try and be positive. But by the time we traveled back, which was about 20 minutes, I was finished. Okay. It had been quite a long day, but I realized that I'm burning myself out, and I realized that this is why collaboration is important. This is why like-minded community is important. This is why self-care is important. And also, in a sense, for the last 5 weeks, I've been compromising those closest to me. So that was quite a big wake-up call for me, to stare that in the face over a glass of wine and say, that's not really working. And it's also about giving myself permission, because being busy, atypical personality in the corporate world, making things happen, being in marketing and media, part of the choices are looking, ourselves in the mirror and saying, you have the opportunity now to make new choices, to change the cycle that you choose.
mm-hmm. Well, first off, I wanted to say thank you for bringing up the fact that even the strongest among us are going to be impacted not only by our own limitations, being tired, being overextended, etc., but we're also part of this overall net of illness and fear and unsuredness and everything's changedness that will have a collective effect on us. And for any of your listeners that are out there, I encourage you to know that that's very normal at this time. I mean, we're finding a lot of people who are kind of railing against that, and the reality is that having a down day or a down week or even a down few weeks is very normal. this is loss. We're
Yeah.
losing that which we knew may not have been serving us very well, but we're losing that, and it will actually thread its way on to other unresolved griefs that we have, and we'll do more work on maybe the loss of a parent 10 years ago, or the loss of a relationship or a job, or some other loss will actually come up. And I just wanted to make sure and reassure that, you know, there are resources, and I know in your communities there'll be hotlines, and, you know, just even the ability to call out to a friend. Now is not the time to be facing these things as if you're the only one. So I
Yeah.
really want to assure people that. I would also say that everybody has a different time frame on when that's going to happen. For some people it was immediate. Maybe they actually got sick.
Yeah.
You know, maybe it's 5 weeks, maybe it won't happen for 3 years. And all of a sudden it's like, well, you know, that those 8, 10, 12 weeks that we all sat in our homes was really a bummer.
Yeah.
You know, I'm very conscious of the people who are in unsafe home communities right now, where they either have a lack of resources or there's violence of some kind in their home. It is not, it's not easy for a lot of people, and you and I are fairly well resourced, and I want to just really acknowledge that, you know, when I talk about choices, I have a lot more choices than a lot of people have at this time, and I want to
I think
acknowledge
I
that.
think one of the reasons why I've been pushing so hard is like a guilt
Hmm.
of having those resources. And you know, we've always had a divide and an inequality that you know we know of, but
Right.
this is so much worse. Like hunger is now becoming, you know, they say you're 9 meals away from becoming going into survival instinct. And if I was out there 9 meals down, I'd also fight for my food,
That's right.
you know. And so you know, being so that's also very much part, you know, the guilt of being okay when there are others
Yeah.
that aren't. And does that sound
And
strange?
I think, yeah, and I hear that guilt, and um, I know that there is much more generativity that comes from a place of appreciation, from giving back, from giving forward,
Mm.
from knowing that we have the ability to resource others, and that, you know, carrying the burden of um, uh, carrying the burden of not knowing how to right the ills, and
Yes.
then just going into a reflexive place will, it's better to go slower
Yeah.
to deal with whatever it is that's fueling the guilt, because it's really not that particular instance,
Yeah.
but to come into, you know, what the Buddhists might say is right work,
Yeah.
coming from a motivation that says, I'm a part of that person's life. They are me.
Yes.
I am them. We are 9 meals away from desperation, from violence, you
Yes.
know,
And
and
that's
aligning that. All of a sudden now we're coming back into that communal speak.
exactly. I was just about to say, and that's what I'm finding. Like I have had strangers coming into my life, coming and dropping off goods. And the other day, a girl I've never seen in my life before was forcing me to sit down in my own kitchen and ask me where the tea bags were so that she could make me tea. Like, you know, and that's once again why community now is so important. That community, as you say, we are one, our togetherness. Now we have to maintain that more than anything, because we're gonna show up, or COVID is going to show up so much stuff in our lives, and we can't do this alone. We need to do it together, and we need to be conscious of doing the good work. This
Yeah,
is also opportunity, you know.
that's right. It becomes the fuel for that right work. Not just the reflexive work, or the I have got to do work,
Yes.
or, you know, oh my God work, or, you know, that desperation work. It actually becomes a conscious, intentional. And one of the things in the spiritual practices is you can tell when there's no attachment. You can tell when there's no urgency. You can tell that we're focused and we're ready and we are in action, but it's without the desperation, the
Yes.
drive, the drive. And now all of a sudden we show up for the other. We show up for the other in a way that doesn't hook them into their patterns of desperation and drive and fear, that we're actually a calming influence. And I do believe that this time in our homes, this time of sheltering, if we focus on the shelter, we're taking shelter. We're sheltering ourselves and we're sheltering our communities, our homes, our families, and we're creating a place where we're pulling back from that fear-based reaction.
Yeah.
That's the conscious choice, the first one.
Thank you. Is there something in closing, like a reading or a mantra or something that you would like to share that we could possibly just remember and keep close to heart?
So Wendell Berry is a poet. He's a US poet. He's still alive, thank God. And he has a poem called The Peace of Wild Things. And I normally would have brought it up, but let's see how I do. When despair for the world grows in me and I wake in the night at the least sound in fear of what my life and my children's life might bring, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things who do not tax themselves with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting with their light. For a moment, I rest in the grace of the world and am free.
Elizabeth, thank you so much. You just made me cry. I knew that this time together with you would be precious. I look forward to connecting with you again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you
And
for
thanks
your
to all of you who are listening out there. I encourage you and send encouragements from California, where we're doing fine. We're holding our own. Not that there's not suffering, but generally speaking, we're making it. So you can too.
and please give your dad a big kiss for me.
Thank you.